Hello everyone. In this lecture of software engineering, we are going to discuss traditional models, waterfall models, phases. So these were the phases of waterfall model, and we are going to get started with the first phase, which is the phase of system feasibility. The system feasibility phase checks whether the system is feasible or not. It is going to check all the preliminary investigation about the project, and this phase will be validated before going to next phase. Now what exactly feasibility mean? Feasibility means possibility or checking. We are going to check whether we are ready to perform or develop this project or not. This phase is going to consider all the factors associated with the project and determine if the investment of time and other resources will give desirable result or not. The second phase of waterfall model is requirement analysis and project planning. Technically speaking, SDLC had the first phase of development as planning and requirement analysis, and it does not contain system feasibility phase. But in waterfall model, we are going to first see systems feasibility. As we all know that traditional models or now process models were developed in the development of softwares only, we are going to check system feasibility. That is, we are going to make our environment ready, we are going to make our team ready. Before going for development, we should check that are we capable of developing this project or not. So this first phase of requirement analysis and project planning is further divided into two steps, or you can say two stages. The first is requirement analysis and the second is planning. So in the requirement analysis, all the requirements, which are the set of functionalities and constraints given by end users, are first gathered. We are going to make use of some fact finding techniques for gathering information or gathering requirements from the customer. We are going to discuss fact finding methods in detail in unit 2. Further, a requirement specification document is going to get generated in this phase, which is a very important document which is going to serve as a throughout developing guide for developers, coders, and testers, and also for end users. This is one such document which has got a very long reach, or you can say a very long use. This document is going to be maintained throughout the development. The next activity of the second phase is systematic project planning. Here, project's scope is going to get defined, which was our goal from SDLC. In SDLC, if you remember, we discussed what the problem is in the first initial phases, and here that is going to get converted into our goal. Further, appropriate method for completing the project is defined using SRS. Logical dependencies between different tasks are decided, and all necessary resources, very important, necessary resources, schedule, cost can also be estimated using SRS. Now we have understood that SRS is going to be maintained throughout. It is a document which should be maintained, which should be developed with side by side or hand in hand the project. SRS is going to contain every single thing. Right from requirements, you are going to write it down in SRS. Customers' feedback, you are going to write it down into SRS. If customer is giving some constraints, some difficulties, you are going to write it down into the SRS. That is why this document is going to serve as a very important document which should be referred in every phase. So the next phase is system design. Speaking about SDLC, system analysis was our next phase, where we used to analyze all the requirements gathered in the previous phase. And design and develop was our phase where actual development used to get started. But in waterfall, system design is the phase where actual development is going to get started. And we can say that SDLCs, these two phases are clubbed, or you can say merged together into one single phase of system design. The system design phase here, technicality is going to get started. Here, functional specification is going to get produced. Here, functional specification will get transformed into a working physical architecture. Now, let us see how exactly this is going to work. In the first two phases, or we can say in the second phase, we gathered requirements. Here in this phase, we are going to convert requirements into functional specification, and further these functional specifications are going to get converted into a physical working design. Now, how to convert a requirement into functional specification? Consider one example. Consider a billing system. A customer has given you a requirement of a report. They need a report which contains date and time at the top, and also contains daily sale and purchases at the end or in one corner. So these are their requirements, that the customer needs today's date and time, and they need to generate this report on daily basis. Every day such a report should get generated which contains today's date and time at the top, and calculations of total sale done in that particular day. This is their requirement. So what are you supposed to do? You have to give them a function which should display date and time, and you should also give them a function which is going to calculate all the daily transactions or all the daily sale. This is converting requirement into functional specification. In this phase, we are going to perform some activities like we are going to prepare system design, we are going to define technical architecture, we are going to design system standards. Now, what are these system standards? System standards are deciding some naming conventions and some standards which should be same throughout the system. As we all know that different teams are going to work on one project, and every team is going to get divided into some different work. So each and every team should understand other team's work. Previous team and next team should understand the work done by the previous team. Further, we are going to create a physical database. Now, here we are going to make use of DFDs and ERDs for the creation of physical database. And finally, we are going to produce a technical specification. The next phase is of detailed design phase. Again, we are considering the two phases of SDLC, which is system design and develop. We have not yet came out of these phases, and this detailed design phase is going to depend on previous phase, that is system design. We are going to discuss the design generated in the previous phase in detail, and we are going to verify what each part of system is going to do. As we all know that waterfall model does not allow us to go back. There is no coming back to previous phase. So work done in the first phase should be correct, then and then only you can perform the next phase correctly. If you by chance perform previous phase incorrectly, you don't have any chance to correct it. So waterfall model is mostly preferred in the development of system where requirements don't change. Requirements gathered in the initial phase gets fixed and they don't change. In such systems only we can use waterfall model. So say for example that you performed the system design phase incorrectly, and if you directly go to the phase of coding, you will be performing incorrect code by referring to the system design. So we need a phase which is a stop. In the explanation of diagram, I told you that waterfall stops flowing and then flows back. It stops somewhere and then flows back. This is the stop where you can stop and correct your previous two phases incorrect work, fix it correctly, verify it, and then go to the phase of coding. Therefore, a phase of detailed design was introduced. The next phase, which is the phase of coding, is now going to work and translate the design in the given programming language. It is a very important phase, as if you don't perform this phase correctly, you are going to affect the next phases completely. The next phase is of testing and integration. Now we can say that we have came out of these two phases of development and entered the phase of testing. Very important phase. We all know that for the work of testing, there is a separate dedicated team, which is a different team, which is going to test the work of coding and then finalize it and then only approve it and send it further. This is a separate dedicated team which was not present in the phase of requirement analysis, which was not present in the phase of design, which was also not present in the phase of coding. So this is a dedicated team, and for them now SRS is going to be their guide. They will throughout completely refer this SRS, understand what the system is exactly, and according to SRS, they will perform the following phases. The first phase here is unit testing, the second is integration testing, and the third is acceptance testing. Now, what is this unit testing? Here we saw that requirements got converted to functional specification. Functional specification got converted to physical architecture or a working physical design. This physical architecture further got converted into coding. Now, this physical architecture cannot be directly converted into coding. This architecture gets divided into parts which are known as modules, and this one module is one unit. So testing or checking one unit is performing unit testing. Then what is integration testing? Collecting all the units together, putting it up as a system and testing it against SRS is known as integration testing. Then what can be finally this acceptance testing? Now who needs to accept this? Who needs to accept the system? Of course, the customer or the end users need to accept our system. So we are going to take their guidance and their reference. In this acceptance testing, we can hand it over the system to our customer, check how they use this system, and finally decide whether the system is getting accepted or not. At the end of performing all these three phases, we can successfully say that the phase of testing and integration is performed correctly and system is ready to install. So the next phase is the phase of installation, which directly gets applied or is very similar to our phase of implementation from SDLC. Now, what does this phase does? This phase is going to again perform three activities. The first activity is pre-installation. The second activity is installation, and the last activity is post-installation. Now, if you go through the words itself are telling us that this system is going to perform pre-installation. What is pre-installation? The phase coming before installation is pre-installation. You need to get ready before installation. You need to gather all the required materials, things. You need to get ready with your operating system, your devices. That is pre-installation. The next is actual process, which is the process of installation. You need to install the software now. You need to make your operating system ready, get a licensed copy if you need it. And the last phase is post installation, which is going to have a checklist. Now, what is this checklist? This checklist is an extension of SRS, you can say. It is going to contain some pick points from SRS which you need to check and verify whether the system is working accordingly or not. And finally, we enter our last phase, which is operation and maintenance. In this phase, we are going to fix all the problems if they occur after installation. Now, after installation, the system is usually set out. It gets out from your environment, your developing environment, to the customer's environment. Say, for example, you have built and you have made ready a billing system, you have tested it and you have installed it in the environment of customer. Now they are using it, and after a period of time, maybe a month or couple of weeks or couple of months, the calculations are getting problem or they are getting wrong. Now here it is your job to maintain it or write an operation to fix this problem. This is the phase of operation and maintenance. Thank you.